Bloomberg Audio Studios.
Podcasts, radio, news.
It's a lot of stuff you're going to have to go through and do. Times that you don't feel like doing anything, but you're going to have to find the strength to do it. And there is no substitute. There is no shortcut to success. Hard work is the key to success. Relationships are the key to success. Being nice to people, like treating people, making people feel valuable.
All right, so Michael Strahan, when we thought of this show, he's like epicenter. Who is he to you?
I mean, he's a good friend. He's someone that I've admired for over 2 decades. And sometimes I feel, and I've asked him this, I said, Michael, is there like 3 or 4 Michael Strahans?
Crazy.
He does so much.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think we should lose sight of the fact that you guys have had these parallel lives. And the New York of it all, you know, you came to it maybe with a little bit more eyes wide open. And he talks about that. This is all he ever knew. He was like, this is just what it is to be an athlete. But man, did it set him up for the ubiquity that you talked about.
The parallels are kind of strange. I mean, right? We were both drafted in 93. He won a championship with the football team Giants in New York. We won in 09.
Yeah.
And then he's taken his world to the world of media and now business. And we learned so much that we didn't know in this episode.
I mean, it really was fun to kind of hear him talk about all the stuff, you know, like he talks about imposter syndrome. He talks about all these things that we all worry about just as like humans. Like those are the things that worry him as well. It's kind of cool. I mean, the other interesting thing to me is you talk a lot about building your team, finding the right partners. He's got an amazing partner in Constance Schwartz-Marini. They created Smack, and that has really helped shape his business outlook.
They've done it together. And look, like me, he comes from a world of team. And he never uses the word I. It's always we.
Yeah.
And I think that's fascinating. And I really think that with all the great things that Michael has done, he's in the early innings of what's this mega media business licensing empire.
On this episode of The Deal, Michael Strahan. All right, so as we get started, introduce yourself.
I'm Michael Strahan. I'm an old retired football player, 15 years here in New York City. I play for the New York Giants. Since retirement, I've gone on to be an entrepreneur, several businesses, multiple television shows, and I've had a very lovely, comfortable, but hard work for life. And I'm a father. My best achievement right there. And that's about it.
And a world champion. And a champion.
And a world champion. Forgot about that.
So let's start there. Let's start with the world champion of it all, but also the New York of it all. Because like, you know, we're sitting here and I mean, who's luckier than me sitting between you two guys? But New York is at the core of so much of it for both of you. What has New York meant to you?
Everything. I have only known New York. And I was just talking about this yesterday with Carmelo Anthony. Someone said to him at this dinner we were at that if you were in another city playing, they would have appreciated you a lot more for what you brought to the team. And he goes, yeah, but it's not New York. And New York isn't for everyone. And Alex defied the odds of what usually happens when someone comes to New York, no matter how great they were somewhere else, the city eats you alive. I didn't know any better. I came here from Texas Southern University, drafted in 1993. I didn't know there was another way except for to suck it up and make it in the city. But had I had my career in another city that didn't have the spotlight of New York, I would have been a football player, had a great career, but I just would have had it somewhere else, and I don't think people would have paid as much attention. But being here in New York has meant the world to me because it's opened up so many opportunities. It's given me a life away from the game of football, but a life that you have to work for, and you have to, go out and take the same principles you learn in sports. But New York has meant the world.
Michael, I'm interested to know, because I haven't even thought about it myself. Michael Strahan played 15 years in New York. champion versus not winning that title. Is there a difference, you think?
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? Charles Barkley hit me with this the best. I see him at a golf tournament, and I had never met him. And I love Charles. I'm like, oh, my God, Charles Barkley is the best. And he sees me, and I go, hey, Charles, Michael Strahan. He goes, hey, man, this is right after we won the Super Bowl. Good to meet you. You know what? You were on my S list, like the curse word of S.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, how am I on the list? I've never met you before. He goes, no. It was a list of guys who had great careers but never won. But now you're off my list. He said, I'm even on my own list.
He's number one on that list.
He's number one, yeah.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, I kind of resigned myself to being that guy. Had a great career, played well, did the best that I could do, man. I gave it everything I had because I didn't want to leave the game and actually look back and say, oh, had I maybe worked a little bit harder, man, I really focused a little bit more, had I done this, I had no regrets. But to win it in the year 15 completely changed the perception that people have of you, the way that they look at you. It's almost as if your career is appreciated a lot more. Yeah. And I didn't realize it until we won. And then I said to myself, you idiot, you were going to be happy with just being good without winning it all? It really shows what it's all for and what you're really playing for, which is that whole team experience of winning.
Does that resonate with you?
Oh, without a question. But, I don't know about Michael, but for me, I grew up watching Dan Marino in Miami. And every conversation starts and ends with, well, he's not Montana. He's the champion. Marino's not.
Yeah.
And after winning in 2009 as a New York Yankee in this city, everything changed.
Yeah.
I mean, to this day, Michael and I guarantee happens with Michael. Firefighters, teachers, thank you for the championship. Fathers with kids. It's really winning in New York there's nothing like it.
Isn't that funny? It's like, thank you. And I'm like, no, thank you. You have no idea. It really worked out well for me. I am very thankful as you are. Believe me.
And so what does it do for you as a businessman? Like, because at that point, as you say, like, the timing's kind of perfect.
I couldn't have been any better.
In the sense that, like, it launches you and you're in New York. So championship plus New York, how does that inform you as a business person?
It completely opens doors that, some doors are obviously open because you're an athlete in this city, and life is about relationships. Business is about relationships. So I had a lot of relationships, but it's something different when you walk in a room or when you're being introduced and it's like Super Bowl champion, World Series champion, as Alex knows. It's like somebody walks in a room full of great actors and this is an Oscar winner. And that's what it's like when you win a Super Bowl, when you walk into the room and it's like you bring back, if they're a Giants fan, an incredible memory for them at some point in their life if they watch that game, because that was, my opinion, probably the best Super Bowl ever played. Undefeated Patriots and Tyree and Eli doing the unthinkable to help us win that game. And I just think that adding that little Super Bowl champion onto the end of your name or some title card opens up so many more doors than just saying, yeah, you play for the Giants.
Right.
I was so disappointed when he retired because I wanted to watch more Michael. And I think Michael could have played 3 or 4 more years. At least everyone thought so. And I just thought it was courageous, bold, and smart to leave a few years early than a few years late.
You always want you to want more.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is, I've been playing in, God knows, 15, 16 seasons. And I'll walk down the street. Oh, you look like you still play. You going to come back and help us? I don't know if they're joking, but they're feeding my ego. I can tell you that. Yeah. And I'm like, no. And I wake up in the morning and take one step out of bed and go, I don't know if my feet could hold up to the damage out there anymore. But when they do that, though, when people come up and say those things, it makes me know that I did it the right way.
And so when you choose that timing, is that a business decision?
I think it was just for me, it was a gut heart decision. Had we not won the Super Bowl, I probably would have said, let me see if we can get there. We were close. And when we won it, I don't know. At one point, I just kind of had the epiphany of 15 years playing in this city, putting everything I had into it. And it wasn't so much the work. I love the work. I haven't taught myself to love practice. Like to put on that equipment and go run into another grown man for a few hours every day. I taught myself to love it. I love the sprinting, the running, the being in shape, the walking out of that tunnel and 80,000 people are screaming or they're booing for you. against you. I loved every bit of that. But after we won, I had nothing else to prove to myself, at least. And I had never really had any major. I tore my pec muscle. I had my thumb repaired. I had a wrist scope. Outside of that, 15 years, I never blew out my knees, never nothing. Hips are good, everything. I banged up everything, but I felt great. I didn't want to limp away. I wanted to walk away. And what else was there for me to accomplish? I'd, done every other award, individual or team-wise, so that was it. And I realized my heart wasn't in it anymore.
You had some famous moments in the parade and some of the great speeches you had and all that to fire everybody up. Did you already know, or when was the moment that you knew, that you looked in the mirror and you said, that's enough?
Oh, you really want to know?
Yeah.
Okay. So I never really took vacations or anything. I was like locked in for 15 years. So I go to Greece. I'm like, just go to Greece. I'm going to go to Greece. I'm going to go to Santorini. I'm going to do Mykonos. I want to have a good time. I'm in Santorini. I get a call from the Giants, and they asked me to come back. And I looked and I said, Santorini or New Jersey? And I decided to stay right where I was. But it wasn't so much the fact that I couldn't play, because physically I felt great. I literally realized in my heart, I just didn't want to do it anymore. I didn't want to do another stomp you out speech. Right. Just didn't have it in me to try to pump up another grown man anymore for that business. And I truly said, it wouldn't be the games, it wouldn't be anything. I really, in my head, tried to go through and rerun what it would take. I said, I don't want to do another speech. And it let me know that my heart's not into it. And I've never cheated it. I just said, I'm getting everything I can into it. I don't ever want to look back and regret. And I felt, had I gone back without my heart being into it, I would have been stealing from football, which is something I never wanted to do.
And so one of the things happened upon like a little anecdote of research that I want to run by you, which is sometime in the late aughts, you're on a TV show, and I think it's a New York-based show. It's with an anchor named Sarah Gore, if I remember. You're sitting there, you're getting interviewed about being an NFL player.
Okay.
And you go to break and you look at her and say, I want to do what you do. Was that in your mind then? Do you remember that?
I don't. I've said some crazy stuff. No, I've said some crazy stuff, and it's all happened.
Because that's well before you were like...
well before anything. I don't know. I think because I grew up in Germany, and I didn't play football growing up. And my senior year of high school, my dad said, do you want to play football? He sent me to Houston to live with my uncle for 5 months and play football. And my dad said, you're going to get a scholarship. And he was so matter of fact about it that I didn't know that Texas was supposed to be tough to get a scholarship, because that's where all the great football players, a lot of them come from. So I just went back kind of la-di-da-da-da, had no idea how to play football, got one scholarship offer to HBCU, Texas Southern. And I went there not knowing anything and wanted to quit. But my dad kind of informed me, well, if you quit, what are you going to do? You're not coming back here. Like, you have an opportunity to take advantage of it. But he always was a win, not if type of guy. He never said if to me. So I always operate in the mindset of when something's going to happen. So if I said that to her, or when I said that to her, in my mind, I'm probably going, oh, I could do that. Yeah, let's do what you do.
This is fun.
And I believe that I could do it.
Right.
Naive. Being naive at that moment, it would have been overwhelming for me. But I'm pretty sure I believed I could do it right then and there. I'd take over right there and do it.
All right. I don't want to get too far away from that incredible part of your origin story. When you think about like deals that you make, some of those are like deals with your parents, and some of them are deals that they impose upon you, which it sounds like your dad did. Why do you think, I'm sure you talked to him about this, why did he make that decision or push you in that direction for football?
Because I think my dad, when I was 13 years old, I had a nickname, Bob. And I'm the youngest of 6, 3 older brothers, 2 of the 2 sisters are the oldest, and that's 4 boys. And my brothers and their friends call me Bob. And I'm thinking, oh, that's funny. That's cool. I'm cool. Like, I'm young. I got a nickname with my brothers and their older brothers and their friends. But Bob meant booty on back. Big old butt. Like, crushed me, man. But I was 13. I'm at home crying. I'm doing all these things. But it inspired me because I went out and bought the Jane Fonda VHS tapes.
Come
and
on.
the Herschel Walker workout book. It was big back then. And this must have been, 85 or something like that, 84. I bought all that stuff, and I started doing the Jane Fonda tapes. I started doing the Herschel Walker push-ups and sit-ups because I read the book. And my dad saw me doing this for about 6-7 months. And he said, you know what? You're willing to work this hard, I'll work with you. So every 6 days a week, from when I was, almost 13, almost 14, till I was 16, 17, I worked out with my dad. Wow. And he would go buy the muscle and fitness books, and he would type up a program on the computer because he was always having a new computer than everything else. And we go to the gym, you mark down your weight, your reps, everything for years. And that's why I think he saw what I did and the commitment that I had. He said, what can I inspire my son to do to take advantage of all these things? And I remember working out with him on a Saturday, and I'm just sitting there kind of a kid, man. And he goes, don't worry, son, one day it'll pay off. I'm in Germany. Football's not even a conversation at that point. But he had a plan, and he saw something in me that at the time I didn't see it myself.
Because he was a boxer.
He was a boxer, right? Yeah, all-army boxer.
Yeah.
Said he fought Ken Norton twice. Ken Norton was in the Marines. My dad was in the Army. And according to my dad, he's 1-1. I don't know. You beat the heavyweight champ of the world, but he claimed he's 1-1.
When I look at your career, Hall of Fame career, world champion, and then talk about a wild pivot, right?
Yeah.
My question is, did you ever dream that big? What's the easiest, the best part, and what's the toughest part of a job like that? Because you're not talking about football. You're talking about real life stuff.
Well, I almost forget I play football. Unless I go to like my man cave and I see things, I don't think about football. And it's really, yeah. I watch it now at Fox, and I'm like, I'm looking at guys get hit going, who's dumb enough to do that? Then I realized I was dumb enough to do that for a long time. Yeah. But you're just young and you're in the middle of it. But it has been such a pivot in a sense that, physically, obviously, but mentally. Because I realized a long time ago that being a football player or an athlete, you can get into a room. But once you get in the room, you have to prove that you belong there and that you deserve to stay there.
That's right.
People will take a meeting with you. Everybody wants to take a picture and show their kids they hung out with this athlete. But what keeps you in the room, right? It's your talent. It's the talent that a lot of people don't see or don't think you have because they've only seen you in one way. And for me, the biggest pivot was getting out of my own way, telling myself that I'm more than just a football player. Because I remember going into these meetings thinking, oh, I'm just this football player. They're just going to see me as this football player. And a friend of mine said, well, they're going to see you how you see yourself. And completely changed my mindset. And I mean, another speaking something into existence is I'm a guest. That's what we won a Super Bowl on Regis and Kelly. And at the end of the interview, Regis said, what are you going to do next? I said, well, I'm on a show right now. Kelly and Michael and Kelly, if you decide to retire. I said this.
On the air?
On the air, yeah.
Are you serious? Wow.
And that's why I thought that's where you were going the first time. It was something else I said, which is crazy. I try things. If it doesn't work, I don't look at it and say I completely failed at it. I try it. If it doesn't work, I learn from it and I find something else. But I think doing GMA now is so intimidating because I was coming from sports and now I was coming from entertainment, light, fluffy stuff to now talk about real world issues in the news. It's intimidating. But just like being an athlete and everything else you want to do, you learn. And I study Robin or Howie, Terry, and Jimmy. Like I'm studying each one of them, studying Terry Bradshaw, the way he tells the story, the way he talks about stuff that's not even sports related, but brings it back to football. I'm looking at George and tell how he's very direct, and there will be a whole script of things, and George doesn't waste time with a lot of words. He gets straight to the point. And I literally told him the other day, George, I like how you get straight to the point, man. I am trying my best to figure out how you do that so I can do it myself. But it's like those little things. It's just not being there and just saying, okay, I'm satisfied, but it's being there and constantly being a student of what you're doing. And that has really helped me in every job that I've done, especially helped me at GMA. But I think everything for me has happened in the right order. Because had I not had football and in Fox, I don't think I'm able to do live with me and Kelly. Yeah. Which in turn, if I don't have that, I don't think I'm ready or able to do GMA had it been mixed up in any other order. So I think the universe just seemed to put things in the way they were supposed to
Michael,
come to me.
When you say study, maybe for our viewers, how does that look?
I'm just like everybody else. I'm just curious. I think because people think, oh, you play sports. No, I play sports because it was later in my life. It just happened to be what I was doing, but it wasn't who I was. I have a lot of other interests. I'm interested in the world. I'm interested in everything that goes on. So just like the person at home, I continue to watch programs. I read newspapers. I do all those things. And then we get a lot of notes. We get a lot of emails, a lot of things that you just read to keep up with what's going on for the day, get emails telling you what direction the show could be going in the next day, what stories we're covering. Just got to read. Just got to read.
I want to connect a couple dots that we've been sort of moving around. And one is the New York of it all. So it's New York, championship, Hall of Fame, the Regis moment. Yeah. Does New York give you the confidence?
I kind of learned to, I don't know, how do I put it? Just do what I do and trust myself and not worry about the opinions of others. I think that really helped me when it came to like doing things here in New York. But that was hard because I was shy when I got here. Here, you're forced out of a shell. But I had to find my rhythm of who I was and who I was comfortable in being. And being in front of the camera doesn't scare me. Right. I'm more shy away from the camera. Like away from the camera, if I don't know people or whatever, I'm kind of quiet. I kind of sit in the back. I observe. I'm cool with that. I don't need to walk in a restaurant and let everybody know I'm there.
Right.
I'm very comfortable in my own little world of non-celebrity, more chill. Seems to be an easier way of life that I prefer.
Was that shocking to you when you got here, New York?
Oh, yeah. I remember, I'm coming from Seattle.
Man, you on the cover of Sports Illustrated at like 3 years old. What are you talking about?
It's almost like when they say, you really don't know, you think you can take a punch until Mike Tyson hits you and connects. Man. That's New York, especially when things are not going well. Because the piling on is pretty strong. Yeah. And you just can't run away from it. And you just have the Yankees, like the Giants, big brands, enormous fan base with legacy brands, and it comes at you pretty good.
I remember Alex, and I reached out to you about this. Like one day, oh my God, Alex Rodriguez, the greatest thing the Yankees have ever done. Knocking home run. Then he has one game that isn't great. I know he's busting his butt. This is the same guy you said was great yesterday. Then the next day, oh, why did the Yankees do this? Alex Rodriguez did. Then the next day he hits a home run. He's the greatest. And I remember reaching out and said, you know what? Just keep doing what you're doing. Like you can't pay attention to that because the bottom line is what really helped me, I stopped letting people criticize me who could not do my job. How are you telling me how to do my job and you could never do this job? You've never done it. As I told one reporter, last time you put on a uniform was when your mom took you trick-or-treating. You've never done this. So why am I letting you affect me in what I do for a living? And that really helped me. Just like, so now I don't care. If you can't do what I do, why am I listening to you telling me? Yeah. It's like asking somebody for an answer and then you got to go ask 10 other people. If I can reach the person who's going to give me the answer, why am I asking you?
Yeah.
I just don't subscribe to that anymore.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of getting beat up to finally get fed up enough to realize that, hey, I'm going to do what I need to do. I don't care.
When we come back, we talk about Michael's transition from winning a Super Bowl to life after football, plus the influence of his mentor and business partner, Constance Schwartz-Marini, and what comes next for their partnership. You mentioned something that I think is really important, and Alex alluded to it. Feels like everything you've done in apparel, JCPenney, Men's Wearhouse, this is not with, apologies to those high-end brands, Hermes or whoever. Like, that's a conscious decision, it feels like, those partnerships. Tell us more about that.
Because it's me. Everything I do is authentic, right? I don't do anything that does not fit me. I don't wear a suit that I don't make. Our fabric. I would touch every tie, every shirt that we'd make just to make sure it was what I would wear. I don't want to have a customer come up to me or somebody and say, well, I bought this and it's not what you said it was going to be. I'm like, no, I'm wearing the same thing. Hey, check this out. And trust me, I have a great appreciation for Hermes and all the other brands. Trust me, I really do. But I just think that I know what I'm comfortable with.
Yeah.
And what I'm comfortable with, I feel like, there's a big part of America that would be comfortable with that as well. but it's also about making sure that people have what they want, look a certain way that they want to look, feel a certain way that they want to feel, because I'm a big believer that the way you dress, it's a confidence booster, a builder. It's something that they can afford to do. And it's something they can afford to do for your kids.
Yeah.
Instead of, the world's expensive enough, and I do my best not to add to that.
So how do those deals come about? Like, what's the origin of, getting into the apparel business?
The apparel business, the origin was I was wearing suits every day. I'm on live. Then I was on NFL. So 6 days a week, I am literally in a suit. And we went over to Peerless, the suit manufacturing company, and said, hey, got this idea. We want to do a suit line. We want to do something that's authentic to me. And to be honest with you, we didn't have a big budget to do it for the show, so why not make our own stuff? And Peerless brought in JC Penney, and we sat down in a meeting and said, hey, this is the idea, what we have. And if we want to partner with you guys, if you'd be interested. And one of the reasons I think that they jumped on it immediately was, one, I think the audience that I had built from football to live.
Yeah.
But two, when we were in that pitch, and I was in there with my partner, Constance Schwartz, who I called the boss, but I pitched it. I didn't sit there and let her or a team pitch it. Like I said, this is what we have. This is what we're doing. These are our thoughts behind it. This is why we believe it's going to work. And when I got done, I said, Constance, you have anything to say? She literally was like, she was crying. I'm like, and I'm in my head, I'm going, not now, not now. And you're like, this is not. She's like, it was like the teacher, the pupil, and the teacher, now the pupil, the teacher. Like, I pay attention. I know what's going on. But it was just in a real moment. And they said, yeah, because they saw the passion I had behind it. I just wasn't going to say, put my name on it, put my face on it, and let it, and just throw it out there. And they said yes in the meeting. And we've been a big success at JCPenney, expanded to Men's Wearhouse, and it has been an incredible 9 years.
And so what is the process? I mean, apparel has been something you invest in. Tell us about skincare. Like, how do these things bubble up?
Well, believe it or not, I do wear a little makeup on TV. May have a little bit on right now, who knows? But with those things, like cleaning your skin, I think skin is like an outfit. It's about your confidence. It's that outward appearance means a lot. But we realize that a lot of men don't really do anything outside of taking face soap or letting the water run over their face and go, okay, I'm good. And that's just not enough as far as long-term skincare. So we kind of came up with a very easy system, very easy steps. Take you to brush your teeth, and you can take care of your skin. And that was important because I need to do that. So
listening to you talk, and, I've watched this guy now for a few years do this too, feels like you like the deal making.
I do. It's
Why?
addictive.
What is it?
Because it's competitive, and it's I love the teamwork part of it, to be honest with you. I love to see other people on the team, have something they're passionate about and excel at it. I love being a part of a team and bringing people together and watching everything grow and watching them grow in the process.
So Jason, as we were prepping for Michael and Constance on this podcast, everyone would ask me, tell me about Michael. I say the same thing about Michael that I do about Irving, Magic Johnson. And what I say about Irving is he's exactly who he is. Camera on, off. You text Michael, as busy as he is, or email him, you're going to get something back usually within an hour or two. Even if he's busy, he's like, hey, I'll call you at the end of the day. I'm running around. And that's the reason why when it comes to reputation and building businesses, he understands that part, which I do think some of our colleagues forget that a little bit because they haven't practiced that type of behavior. So,
But it's a learned behavior. You got to learn it. And for me, I just want to be the same. Consistency to me is a big thing. Consistency. But and Magic's done an incredible job.
And Magic is our mentor, right? He's the king, right?
Yeah.
We're following his footsteps. But Jason, you appreciate this. When I retired in 2016, one of my first calls when I joined Fox was Michael.
Yeah.
And I said, Michael, I'm going to need your help. I'm going to lean in. And he gave me just simple but great advice, right? And I think he said, okay, I'm going to help your media. You got to help me in business.
Yeah, exactly.
And now he doesn't need anybody's help. But
this was the interesting thing. And speaking of Magic, I heard about Magic. I heard this last night as well, that when Magic was playing for the Lakers, Jerry Buss kind of took him under his wing, obviously. But Magic got the telephone number of everybody who sat in the front row of the arena and personally called each and every one of them to ask them, what did they do so that they can basically afford those seats
No way.
with
True
at the
story.
Lakers
Yeah.
and really built relationships. And he was the first athlete, I think, and Jerry Buss was one of the owners who, well, I guess, was that open.
Yeah.
Because I think back in the day, I don't think ownership was as open as they are now to helping guys in business or being in business with guys.
Yeah.
But Magic was the one who kind of showed that there's more than one side to an athlete.
Yeah.
That's what we do at this moment. I was 36 when I retired. What did I do? I could have moved to Florida and played golf all day like my buddies and did nothing else. But I can't imagine that life. Like you're so young, you have so much more to give. And that sports was just one small part of your life.
And so speaking of Fox, Alex, I mean, I think that, first of all, it's a commonality, as you mentioned. The willingness, the ability, and the decision to stay close to the game in that way. I know you've done it, Alex. Where does that come from for you?
Football is like some of the best memories of my life. I mean, and I love, to me, doing the Fox NFL show and being there with the guys on set is my highlight of my week. And I fly cross country every week for it.
Yeah.
And everyone goes, "Are you tired of flying?" I'm like, no. There's never a Sunday, and I swear to you, 16 years, there's never been one Sunday that I've showed up in that studio and we're there at 5:36 until usually 5 p.m. that I've got there and I was like, oh man, I can't wait to go home. Ever. It is so much fun. And that's like my locker room now. Because the biggest thing about sports that you miss isn't, I mean, obviously you're making a lot of money, but I don't miss that because there are other ways to make money. I miss the guys. And these are my guys now. This is my new locker room with no egos because we've all accomplished everything we wanted in the game of football. Now we're here to have fun. This is gravy.
How do you get yourself in the mindset to be, and you alluded to this earlier, to be critical but fair, to bring insights to, people like me who never played the game? Like, how do you approach that?
Well, I think the business of being an analyst is just saying what you see and doing it in an honest way without ill intent, without maliciousness. I don't say, well, I can't believe this guy played like this. He's making all this money. What does that have to do with anything? Like nothing. Let's talk about his performance, right? And let's be honest about his performance in a way in which you can that you could tell that I played the game and I understand what position he's in. What I got to portray to the audience, the way I felt about it is I've been in the locker room. I've been up 21 and lost. I've been down 21 and won. Like, what are the emotions? What are the feelings? What's going on for the team on the winning side? How the team on the losing side feel when things start to go against them and they just can't stop the tide from rolling? Like, I need to convey that to the audience, the feelings of things that they just can't Google on the internet and get a feel for or a stat. I mean, of course, you use stats here and there, but for the most part, stats mean nothing. It's a game of emotion, and that's what you want to get to the audience. And that's the one thing I had to learn. And my little buddy, Jay Glazer, of all people, wasn't one who really taught me that because I was doing the typical, well, they got to do this and that. And he goes, Michael, people, they can find that anywhere. Tell them what it feels like in that locker room. You were in that locker room. That's how you set yourself apart.
How did you know that you had it? What was that moment for you?
I didn't. I didn't. That's the weird thing when people go, you're just so natural. Like, I don't, I just think I reached a point where I don't really think about a camera being there. I don't think about, it does got to affect how I'm going to be. I'm going to be me.
Yeah.
And when the camera's not there, I'm going to be the same dude. And it's the hardest thing for people to be themselves on television. That's the hardest thing I think for people. When the camera's on you, can you be yourself?
Yeah.
It's kind of like somebody's an actor trying to act as himself. I mean, I give you a lot. Hats off to you if you can act as yourself in front of a camera in a movie. But I'm just me. I don't think about it. I don't get that serious about it. And then there are some times you're on live TV and something happens and you're like, okay, can I say that? Man, get away with that. Maybe not. I trust my gut with those type of moments too. And I think that goes a long way, just trusting
Michael,
yourself.
Easier to trust your moment when we're talking about football or baseball. I'm amazed when I see you talking about like politics, election year, hurricanes, earthquakes. Was there a moment early on, probably not so much today, in the GMA days, that you felt a little imposter syndrome? You have George, who's
absolutely, man. You kidding me?
Robin, who's an icon.
I still feel it sometimes.
Yeah,
absolutely. Imposter syndrome, 101 over here. I'm sitting there, Alex. I'm sitting there looking at people who I loved and admired. They, you're the gold standard. And for me, the first few years of sitting there, I literally was in a master's class. And I would just sit there and watch them do their thing with ease and go, man, they're so good. I don't know if I'll ever be that comfortable, because I was uncomfortable in front of the camera for news. Very comfortable for Fox. Very comfortable when I was on live. GMA made me uncomfortable because it was subject matter that I felt, you know, I may know this stuff, for some of this stuff, some of it I need to I need to get in, you know, in tune with. But I felt, do I really belong here? And I had a boss of mine who said, you know what, Michael, the world's changed. People want to get their news delivered in different ways from different people. It's not the traditional sit there and, you know, I'm going to tell you what you should think.
Walter Cronkite.
Yeah, not that anymore. It is, you know, you fit what people want to hear, who they want to hear it from. And you just need to believe in that and believe in yourself. And yeah, man, I just felt like an imposter for a long time. But now I feel as comfortable there as I felt on any other set.
One thing you've learned from Robin and one from George, because I'm big fans of both of them.
The one thing I've learned from Robin, that I belong. I was on the carpet. I was over here for live, getting ready to interview celebrities who are coming soon. But she looked at me and she goes, "You're nervous, huh?" I said, "I am scared to death." She goes, "Michael, I came from sports too." When she said that, I was like, I forgot. Like, Robin has just had such an incredible career and transcended so many things. And that was the one thing I learned, gave me the most confidence in the world with that. And with George, you know, I've learned with George, be consistent. George is George. He's always going to be prepared. He's always sharp. He's going to challenge people who say things that should be challenged. He's not going to run away from a challenge because someone's supposed to be his friend or he doesn't want to hurt a feeling. George is going to get and ask the question that should be asked. And he's going to do it in a way that I hope to one day be able to do, which is just with this straightforwardness and its honesty and a level which you got to respect. And I think that's why he gets so much respect from everyone, including myself.
You've talked about identifying things you want to do and then they materialize. How do you think about the future?
Kind of crazy. I do think about a little bit more about the future now than I think I probably used to think about. I think because my kids are older and, you know, freshmen in college, and it makes you go, all right, what am I going to do? Do I want to work for the rest of my life? Or do I want to go hang out with my buddies and play golf like it seems like they're doing every day? And I think there's a fine line between the two of them. I don't think I'm able to sit idle and do nothing. That would drive me mad. But I do think that there's a way in which I can figure out another avenue or something that I have not done yet that I would love to try to figure out and conquer a little bit. And I think I'm finding my way, and kind of in the vein of Alex, you know, the sports fund. I'm doing with our good friend Mark Lazary. And so I think that's something I'm very interested in, very passionate about the business side of investing, very passionate about investing.
Well, let's talk about that, because I do think, I mean, obviously the show is called The Deal. What are the opportunities to do that for you? Because sports is I dare say, you know, you guys came up literally parallel. It is a very different ecosystem than it was in the early 90s. How do you view that from a deal maker's perspective?
A lot of my deals are so far removed from the sports. I mean, this is the fund is sports fund, and we would do things around sports, and we have. But I think on a personal note, as far as my investing, it's full gamut. I mean, I'm just an open book to solid investments, to be honest with you. And I have several investment vehicles I invest through. One is a group of 8 friends, and the other one's a group of 3 friends. And we find deals. We get deals come through each of us because we all have very different careers, but some in tech, some in finance, myself in sports. But we all get so many opportunities that come our way that we'll vet it together, and then we decide if you want to invest or not. But we have a fund that we do that with, and they have one that's a smaller fund, just 3 of us. And those are smaller investments that probably can't take as much capital as the others. So the 3 of us will do it or divide it or figure it out in that way. But the gamut of investments, I think we invest over 30 companies.
Yeah. Is there a deal that sticks out in your mind? One that either I saw that, I knew it was going to be amazing, or wow, that turned out in a way that I didn't anticipate?
The one deal that I've balked on, and I think about it every time I play golf at Bel Air Country Club in LA, because I walk past the guy's house. Young guy calls me up, and I hadn't met him in LA, and I was living out there. And he said, I want to have a meeting with you at the Beverly Hills Hotel. Great, cool. Go over there. We having lunch. And he's telling me about this business that he's working on with a few of his friends. He would love for me to invest and everything else. And I'm looking at him, and I'm
What
going,
year is this now?
Oh, man. I mean, I retired at that point. So I think I retired at that point. So it got to be 2008, 9,
Okay.
10, something like that. Maybe before that. But he's telling me about this business, and I'm like, oh, yeah, great. And in my head, I'm going, I don't know if I'm going to invest with this kid. He's like so young. And I don't know. He seemed like a little crazy. Tinder.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, how much would you have invested?
Well,
and what do you think it would have
I
been?
knew what it was going to be. I put everything I had into it.
Oh, man.
Well, I look back now like, what do you? But you can't. One thing I don't get upset. You can't win them all,
That's
right?
That's right.
And you're gonna lose in some. I mean, I've lost money in some deals. I mean, but I've made a lot of money in other deals, and I think that's kind of like the competition part that I like. You really got to do your due diligence. You really got to be disciplined about what you're gonna do. And for me, my association with certain things, like there's certain things that I won't do because I don't want to be associated with something like that. Even though it would be a great business, but then there are certain things that, you know what, that's right up my alley. Or there's certain people I invest in who have a product that is great. I believe it's great, but a lot of great things don't work. But I believe that person as a CEO, as somebody who's an entrepreneur, is going to really figure out a way to make it work.
So one person who's been critical in all of this, you've alluded to her a couple times, maybe just simply as the boss, is Constance Schwartzmarini. How does SMAC come together? What's the origin story there?
Well, Constance has started the company with another person. And Constance and I, we met 28, 29 years ago when she worked at the NFL. And I retired, and we stayed in contact even when she moved to LA because she left the NFL, went work for a record label. Then she worked for a management company, and then she was managing Snoop full time for 7 years before she decided to go out on her own. But we always stayed in touch. And then I went out. When I retired, I moved to LA because I was doing Fox, the only thing I was doing at the time. So I was like, might as well live close.
Yeah.
And I would go to her office all the time. And I would just sit there in meetings and listen and have opinions on things. And after a while of doing that, she was like, okay, if you're going to show up here every day, you got to become a part of the business or you just got to not come back. She got sick of me. I guess you're either sick of me or like you're going to be a part of it. So I was like, yeah, all right, I'm in. So I ended up joining the company, and now, now other partner left. So it's just her and I. We own a whole company. We haven't sold off anything of it or taken on any partners. But, we now at the point where like strategic partners would really work for us to help us expand in a lot of ways that we want to expand. And yeah, that was 13 years ago. And we get along in a sense that I think we both understand each other well. We don't scream and argue with each other. Like we both had the same sensibilities. And we have a saying, HLYB, hustle like you're broke. And we both do that. We do not take for granted what we have. We work as hard now as we've ever worked. And I know that we both feel a responsibility for everyone who works with us. So that's where we started. That's how it all got started. And it was not much going on back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't much going on. And then just from sheer will and determination and just pushing and pushing and pushing, especially whenever days you're like, what the heck are we pushing for? It just, once one thing happened, then the next thing happened, and the next thing happened. And now we've been off and running pretty well for a while.
Well, I mean, I think it's fair to say understanding sort of the underpinnings of what you're trying to do. I mean, the world sort of came to you in a lot of ways. Like the world recognized a lot of the things that you guys had recognized, which is this intersection. We talk about it, Alex and I talk about it constantly. Business, sports, culture, technology, broader economics, broader ambition. Why do you think that happened? I mean, what happened in the world to put you at the center of it?
I wish I knew.
Yeah.
I really wish I knew. And I name our company SMAC.
Yeah.
Sports, music, and culture. And that's really what we're involved. I mean, we manage Wiz Khalifa, Common, and on the sports side, it's myself, it's Deion Sanders, Shiloh Sanders, Shador Sanders, Travis Hunter, Kurt Menefee, Aaron Andrews, the Garcia twins were the Bella twin wrestlers, Tony Gonzalez, just a full gamut of different type of people with different types of skill sets. And we're about working with people we want to work with, people who have the same, hustle and drive and ambitions that we have. Because a lot of work, especially to manage someone's career and try to build a career, like build a business off of their career, which is something that we take a lot of pride in, is being able to come up with the Wear by EA, Aaron Andrews line with NFL, NHL, NBA, and be able to create something from an idea and actually make it a business, not pass it off. And we have a small but mighty team. And I just think, universe works in mysterious ways, man. I don't get it. I really don't. I remember when you talk to Constance, ask her about the calls that she would, like, I had this epiphany. I woke up in the middle of the night and with these epiphanies. And I got to say, as crazy as she sounds when she's telling me, she's always right. And she really is a savant. And it just makes sense to her how this business works and how the world works and, the long-term goals, because she doesn't look at the immediate. She's always years ahead of myself and everyone else. When my dad left off, as I got grown and moved to New York, and my parents were in Texas, Constance has picked up and has given me that confidence of like when and what's next and believing things are going to happen where my dad left off.
Yeah.
So look, there's a lot of young people out there that want to be the next Michael Strahan. Like, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give yourself at 21? And our young viewers that want to be like you or something like you, what advice would you give them?
Well, there's a lot of advice. I literally woke up this morning and I was like, man, it's early. I got to bed a little late last night, started watching one of these series, kept me up later than my usual bedtime. And I got up and I said, man, I'm tired. Then I realized that this is not tired. Tired was pulling myself out of a bed at Fairleigh Dickinson here in New Jersey or at University of Albany in training camp. Tired, beat up, sore, putting on shoulder pads that are still wet and damp from the sweat from the day before to like. Constance, it's my last question. Could I please finish my last question? Is that okay, boss?
All right.
I'm in here singing your praises, by the way.
Well, that's a shock because you never sing it.
All right, boss, could I have 1 minute?
You want me in or out?
Yeah, you go that way. There's a seat right there. Yeah, go through there. You can have a seat right here. Get to the background. But then I realized that, man, I look at now and I go, it's a lot of work. For anybody that's out there who's young, it's a lot of stuff you're going to have to go through and do. Times that you don't feel like doing anything, but you're going to have to find the strength to do it. And there is no substitute. There is no shortcut to success if you're not with it. Hard work is the key to success. Relationships are the key to success. Being nice to people, like treating people, making people feel valuable. I don't care what your job is here on set. I don't, whatever show I do, or I don't say people work for me, they work with me. But I believe in making everyone feel they have the value, no matter what their job is. Because if you do that, they will do everything they can for you, for your organization, to make it be the best it could be. So treat people with respect, treat yourself with respect, work your butt off, and be open to say yes, and don't care if it doesn't work, because you're going to learn something that's going to help you down the road. And that has really been my whole life lesson.
That's awesome.
And get yourself a great partner like Constance Swartz Morini, who I'm scared of because she's behind me. So I got to say all these nice things about the boss. She is so lovely. Cannot wait for you two to have a conversation with her.
Did he do okay?
I mean, he forgot the part talking about treating everyone with respect. He should treat me with respect.
I do treat you with... You know what? She's coming in hot. Coming in hot.
We're ready for her. We're ready for her. Thank you so much
Man,
for doing
thank
this.
you. That was
Michael,
fun.
thank you so much.
Alex,
Thanks
love
a
you.
lot.
Thank you, brother.
The Deal is a production from Bloomberg Podcasts and Bloomberg Originals. The Deal is hosted by Alex Rodriguez and Jason Kelly. Our producers are Victor Iveyes and Lizzie Phillip. Our story editor is Siddhartha Mahanta. Our assistant producer is Stacey Wong. Blake Maples is our sound engineer. Rubab Shakir is our creative director. Art direction is from Jacqueline Kessler. Original music by Blake Maples. Casting by Dave Warren. Our editorial supervisor is David E. Rabella. Our executive producers are Sage Bauman, Jason Kelly, Adam Comiskey, Kelly LaFerriere, Ashley Honig, Trey Shallowhorn, Kyle Kramer, and Andrew Barden. Additional support from Rachel Scarmazino, Elena Sausangelos, Vanessa Perdomo, Anna Mazarakis, David Fox, Adriana Tapia, Alex Sugira, Ashna Shah, and Diana Colong. David Dominguez is our director of photography. Our camera operators are Josh Devereaux, Jesse Ridner, and Ryan Cafetero. Katia Vinoy is our video editor. Rob Silcox is our gaffer, and our grip is Pranoy Jacob. You can also watch The Deal on Bloomberg Originals, YouTube, and Bloomberg Television. Subscribe to The Deal wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening.